So for the last couple of weeks, I've been testing out the S5 Mark II and the autofocus, of course. In the start, I only had the kit lens, the 2060 with variable f-stops, and I think it's a really good lens and really good start out. And why I like it is actually because I come from a background of the Micro Four Thirds, and I still use the GH6, and I absolutely like Micro Four Thirds because it's lightweight. It functions all the time. You know, the battery life is so long that you don't think about batteries, and it's just so reliable, and everything. You know, it's compact. It doesn't weigh too much, and that's why I was really not so much into full frame in the start until Panasonic lent me this S1 S5 S5 Mark One, which is a really good camera, but there was something I didn't like about it, and that was the viewfinder, because I always film like this, and I didn't think the resolution was good enough, but that's really good on the Mark II. So having the S5 Mark II and the kit lens it's the same feeling and the same working. You know, you work the same way. I can't feel any difference from working with the Micro Four Thirds system. And one thing is that, you know, I'm a running gun filmmaker, and I have this dogma that everything should fit in one bag. And the reason why I really like the S5 Mark 1 and 2 is you can do just the same. And especially now that Panasonic was so kind to lend me this. It's a box full of primes, and it's primes made for the full frame series of cameras from Panasonic. And the brilliant thing is it goes from 18 to 24 millimeter, 35, 50, and 85. And they're all same weight, same size, same filter size. So you just need one filter, and if you have a gimbal, it's very easy to swap them, and you won't have to rebalance and all this. But what I like about it is that they're compact, they're light, and they look brilliant. The first lens I was tested out was a 24 millimeter. It's a wide angle lens, but it's not that wide. You know, I used it for an interview where there's two people interviewing or talking together, and I have to, you know, make a half total or total, and then I had to make a near shot. And that's where I think the 24 millimeter is absolutely brilliant. It's a good, if I should just choose one of these lenses, the 24 would be my choice. But of course, in some situations, you want a different look, and the 50 and the 85 are always also, you know, for interviews. They're of course really that's in my opinion what they are made for. But I had another shoot where I had to film a concert, and this is a concert where I cannot control anything. I'm just the irritating person in front of the audience, standing in front of the musicians, irritating everybody. And there, I used the kit lens to start with. So I chose a number. I put on the 2060, and I just moved around on the stage. And I didn't use a gimbal. I didn't think it was necessary. I think the stabilization of this camera is it's just as good as the GH6 and I think it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. And then I just shoot, you know, the number. I have an omnidirectional microphone from DPA, which is brilliant sound, and because it's omnidirectional, it just takes, you know, everything. So I didn't have to think too much about that. I can supply it with a recording they made in the room. I don't know if it's good. I haven't heard it yet, but I'm sure this sounds just fine. And then After that, of course, there are some faults where you shake a little or you hit something, or I went into some stands and stuff like that. I had to jump over some stuff on the stage, and I have to hide that afterwards. And I used the 50 and the 85 to make, really shallow depth of focus shots of the musicians, of the instruments, of the singer, and on the side I used I think it was the 24 to just make it like a total of the scene. So I had different shots that I can use to make this look like this multi-camera shot. And what I really like about these primes is that they're so sharp, they're so clear, and the autofocus just, there's no issues with it. It works. That said, is there any issues with the autofocus? Well, I'm not a big fan of autofocus. I've not been using it for years, but I'm forced myself to use it here and in different shoots. There are some places where you have two persons, where the face of the human detection, it sort of, I'm not sure whether the camera is choosing the one or the other. You can see the boxes are sometimes, going between the two places. Then I just switch over to manual focus. And if I'm not quite sure if I'm totally sharp, which I think is not difficult to hit the sharpness with the image peaking active, and when you do something, you have the magnification of the image. I think that's really brilliant. But hitting the button on the back here and just having a push auto, it goes snappy like this, and it's there. I mean, on the GH6 sometimes it's off, and I just experienced that it's really fast when it comes to that. So the only thing I think that I have with the autofocus is that it's auto. It's there's no brain behind it. I mean, it doesn't know what I want to do. Sometimes I want to focus on something else, and of course I can use the joystick and have the boxes go to another person or something like this. And I think with time I'm going to be practicing that, but it's not in, I haven't got the routine to do that yet. But I would like to, for instance, just have a auto lock, which if I am in one face, lock it there, and then even though another person comes in, it's still, that person that is in focus. That would be really brilliant. Or another thing, if the push autofocus could be a, autofocus button, so that when you don't press it in, it's just manual focus. When you press it in, it goes auto until you release it again. That would be brilliant in a run-and-gun situation, because then you have the best of two worlds. You can manually set the focus and pull focus and all that, and then when you need autofocus, and I think it's really good because that makes me, as a run-and-gun photographer, it releases a lot of energy. Am I in focus? I'm not in focus. Okay, because I usually have a lot of thought about that when I'm using my GH6. But I only feel right now that when I'm completely, if I have one person in the frame, I'm safe. But if there's different persons running out and in and out, then camera might do the right thing, but I'm not comfortable with it. And I think everything comes to operational, how we operate it. Now comes the difficult thing, because these are not my primes, and if I should choose a prime that I wanted to use, I think if I had only one and wasn't, on an island someplace, remote island, I would have the 24mm f1.8. that would be a brilliant, you know, sort of all-round lens. But if I could, yes, I would love to have the 85 as well, because it's so nice with portraits. You know, it's just lovely to look at. And then of course the 18mm if it's landscapes and big rooms and all that. The 50mm also, I think it's a brilliant lens. The only one that I haven't really used a lot, or that I almost never chose, I think I actually only chose the one because I want to making a test. That was a 35, but a lot of people also talk about this. And some people even hate 35. I like 35, and using the 15mm on my 15mm f1.7 on my Micro Four Thirds, which resembles a 30mm. So I definitely like this. It's just when you have all these other lenses, that's the one that keeps in the bag. But overall, what you can do with this S5 Mark II is that you have a compact camera. You have a camera that can last a long time on one battery. I haven't tested the exact time, but many of the shoots I did, I used 1 or 2 batteries, and so you don't have to run around and be frightened and you run out of battery. And you can actually, with a full frame camera, do the Micro Four Thirds lightweight, easy, you know, running around, run and gun filmmaking. And you don't have to have excessive weights you have to run around, you know. These are quite compact, light lenses, and I love it.